gbogbo Ìbàdàn.
Ẹ dúpẹ́ o fúnlẹ̀ bàbá wa.
Olúyọ̀lé o.
Ẹ dúpẹ́ o fúnlẹ̀ bàbá wa.
Òkè Àdó.
Ẹ dúpẹ́ o fúnlẹ̀ bàbá wa. Òróró ilẹ̀ ní bàbá fún wa bí ìṣù omi.
The exploits of the Ibadan warlords in the various wars across Yoruba land is a confirmation of the bravery and brilliance of progenitors of Ibadan, especially when it comes to prosecution of wars. Ibadan played major roles in ensuring that all attempts to attack or invade Yoruba territory were repelled and Yoruba land is victorious. After the fall of Ilorin to the Fulanis and collapse of the Oyo Empire, all other important events in Yoruba land revolved around Ibadan, which was the strongest power that emerged. At a point in the history of Ibadan land, performance in battle became the criterion for ascendancy to the chieftaincy hierarchy. The situation which attracted to Ibadan many brave and talented warriors who had distinguished themselves in the defense of the fallen Oyo Empire. Some of the warlords of Ibadan included Basharun Ogunmola, the son of Orisaguna from Fesu compound in Iwo. He was very short in stature, but the devil to the enemies at the war front. He was a gallant soldier who moved from Fesu to Isheyin before final relocation to Ibadan to form alliance with Iba Oluyole. He won many wars for Ibadan, especially the Ijaye War. Among the war generals of Ibadan was Balogun Ibikunle. Ibikunle hailed from Ijado near Ogbomoso. He came to Ibadan during the reign of Baale Maye Okunade. Based on his strength and valor, Balogun Ibikunle was nicknamed Kiniun Onibudo. Balogun Ibikunle was second to none in the battlefield. He was courageous and fought for several years for Ibadan land. Ibikunle built a protective wall called Odi Ibikunle around Ibadan in 1858. Another prominent Ibadan son who displayed gallantry at the war front was Balogun Oderinlo. Oderinlo was the Balogun of Ibadan land and reigned around 1850. Oderinlo rose to prominence as one of the chiefs who played an active role in the rebellion against Lakanle before Lakanle's eventual suicide. Oderinlo was the Balogun who led the Ibadan troops to fight in the Second Ibadan-Ilorin War at Oshogbo, a war that Ibadan won comprehensively. The army of Ibadan equally attacked Ilesha to rescue Oshogbo. From that war, the Ibadan army ventured into Ekiti for the release of Otun, which was attacked by Ilorin army. They also fought in Ara to reinstate the Alara, who was then having problems with his people. Balogun Oderinlo was among the 6 generals who plotted against Oluyole. At the time Basharun Oluyole died, Balogun Oderinlo was planning to go on a war to Okeogun. So, when the entire council of Ibadan invited Oderinlo to become the Baale, he declined, saying he wanted to win that war first. Historians speculate that he wanted to gather the wealth from the war to boost his claim to the rulership of Ibadan at the time. Balogun Oderinlo went to the war and came back. He won the war and gathered enough loot and slaves to bring back to Ibadan. However, few months after his return to Ibadan from Okeogun, as he was said to be announced as Baale of Ibadan, Balogun Oderinlo died mysteriously. To this day, nobody knows how Balogun Oderinlo died, but the sudden and mysterious nature of his death has led many to speculate that he may have been poisoned. After his demise, Baale Opeyagbe replaced him on the throne of Ibadan. The Ekefa Olubadan of Ibadan land, Senior Chief Lekan Alabi, who is also the first cultural ambassador, National Museum and Monuments, Ile-Ife, noted that Ibadan warlords can best be described as the major savior of Yoruba land, especially during the Fulani invasion.
The present Ibadan is the third Ibadan that grew out of a settlement at about 1820-1825, and it started as a military camp following the fall of the old Oyo Empire, which was somewhere near in present-day Niger State. As a result of the flock of Yorubas from the Oyo Empire, the Ibadan army rose up as a defender of Yoruba land. Yoruba stock from all Yoruba land started hearing about the new military camp called Ibadan, which today is shortened to Ibadan. The popular generals Ibikunle, Ogunmola, Ojo, Suberu Ajengbe. So they went out to fight enemies or any opponent, anybody, any group that wanted to stall the growth, peace, unity of the Yoruba land. The most famous is the Jalumi War. As a result of the treachery of Afonja, Are Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba land, he had become so powerful and wanted to hold the crown or the position of the Alaafin of Oyo to his being Are Ona Kakanfo. So Afonja was holding forth at Ilorin on behalf of Alaafin. But Afonja became too ambitious and wanted to take over the stool of Alaafin. He thereafter sought in his own mind the help, spiritual help of a Fulani Malam called Alimi. So he invited Alimi to Ilorin to be praying for him so that he will overcome Alaafin. But rather than do that, Alimi was doing incantations that will bring down Afonja, unknown to Afonja. And he was inviting mercenaries, recruits from Sokoto. So they amassed in Afonja Palace and struck one night, killing Afonja, killing his son, and demolishing his post as Are Ona Kakanfo. Then the jihadists, the Fulani jihadists, took over Ilorin. So having captured Ilorin by deception and the over-ambition of the Are Ona Kakanfo, they now moved gradually towards Osogbo, passing through Ofa. It was then the Ataoja of Osogbo sent for help to Ibadan. And Ibadan now mobilized his generals, the ones I've mentioned, Ibikunle, Ogunmola, Ojo, to go and face the jihadists in Osogbo. And that's how Ibadan army not only defeated the jihadists, but drove them outside the walls of Ofa.
Are Obadoke Latosa Asubiaro was another warrior produced in Ibadan land. He was born at Ilora around 1820. He joined the Ibadan army through Ogunmola and rose to become Otunbalogun, and later became the Generalissimo of Yoruba Empire, Are Ona Kakanfo. Are Latosa personally took over the command of the Ekiti Parapọ̀ War in 1880. Are Latosa died quietly in an Ibadan camp in 1885. Ibadan led the battle during the Jalumi War, Ekiti Parapọ̀, Kiriji War, Ijaye War, Fulani Jihad War, and other internal wars prosecuted by the Ibadan war laws. One of the great-grandsons of Latosa, Chief Mabinu Ori Adigboyega, who has also assumed the title of Are Latosa, spoke about the exploit of his great-grandfather in the war front.
Mohammed Obadoke Are Latosa Ashibiaro Agedegudu. He was the first African man to combine civil and military leadership. He was the Olubadan of Ibadan, at the same time the war generalissimo of the Yoruba from 1871 to 1885. We have a lot of people that knows about war. We never lose any war in Ibadan. Even the Ijebu War, the Egba War, and the Ekiti Wars, and the Kurumi Wars, we always win. In short, if you are not a warrior, you are nothing in Ibadan. And let me now talk about Kiriji War, which was fought by my forefather. This is Ilesha. This is Ekiti. And my father went straight in between them, and he sat down there and he won the war. The Ijeshas was at the back and the Ekiti were at the front, and he was at Igbajo. in the middle of the war. That's why he pitched his tents and he won the war.
A professor of history from the Premier University Ibadan, Professor Olutayo Adesina, noted that the power wielded by Ibadan warlords later made them to be tyrannical, which also led to Ekiti Parappa War in rebellious to Ibadan tyrannical attitude.
Ibadan became a place where these generals congregated, and so at the end of the day, at the most crucial period in Yoruba history, they proved very helpful and very significant. And the most significant of it all was the one where Balogun Oderinlo was at the head of the Ibadan army that stopped the Fulani invasion at the Battle of Osogbo in 1840. And so it's very significant that Ibadan saved Yoruba land from the scourge of these people, and so we have had a long history of these generals. They had gone to Ekiti to take control of that region, and we also have to talk about Efunshitan Anigura, who actually was behind them, provisioning them. She even had her own army, always lending support to the Ibadan army at any battle site. So Ibadan was famous for all these war generals. But one significant thing about them was that they were people who were cerebral, profound people, full of strategies and tactics. They weren't going to go into battle blindly. They knew what they were doing. Yeah. So there is no way you can talk about Yoruba history without talking about Ibadan history. But at some point, Ibadan also became tyrannical, like all powerful countries, all powerful people. Ibadan also became tyrannical. And so when it came to the Ekiti experience, Ibadan became very tyrannical. Ibadan became very powerful, and so started to expand her power and influence. And so in conquering Ekiti land, she began to send those we call the Ajeles to rule over the Ekitis. And so the Ajeles also became tyrannical, taking wives, levying money arbitrarily, and being generally unruly. That was what caused the Ekiti Parappa War. To say, no, Ibadan must go. So no matter how strong you are not likely to be totally benevolent when it comes to power and the use of power. The use of power comes with the abuse of power.
No matter how, Ibadan will continue to be relevant in the scheme of things in Yoruba land, owing to the high level of bravery and strategy displayed at the war front by the Ibadan warlords.